All right, Joe. So for today's film review, we're going to break down Kenyon Sadiq and Omar Cooper Jr., which specifically go through some plays on how we can envision them being used in the Jet offense with Frank Reich calling the plays and Geno Smith throwing the ball. So you put together some plays, you could kind of show their strengths, their weaknesses, and kind of how you see it fitting with what the Jets are going to try and do offensively. And we'll get our first look at this offense later this week with OTAs opening up tomorrow and the first one for the media to attend on Thursday. So whenever you're ready, we'll break down the film. We're going to do Kenyon Sadiq first. And before you pull up the first play, I just want to remind everyone out there something very important about Sadiq. He's a certified freak.
I was obsessed with Sadiq, certified freak, 7 days a week, certified freak. Obsessed with Sadiq, certified freak, 7 days a week, certified. Obsessed with Sadiq, 7 days a week.
7 days a week.
Certified freak.
Now that we've established that, Mr. Joe Blewett, whenever you're ready, the first Kenyon Sadiq play, and let's break down how he will fit the Frank Reich offense.
Yeah, so we did a review of both of these guys, so you can always go back and watch more. All of these clips are from the second watch that the second time watching him. So I watched Montana State, Oklahoma State, Northwestern, Rutgers, Wisconsin, Washington, and James Madison to pull these clips. And again, go back to the first review for a little bit more of Sadiq. So yeah, I said like a random, kind of mashup of plays, just of some of the positives and the weaknesses, and we can go over those as well at the end, and then also talk about some of the fit in the offense. So nothing crazy long today with these reviews, but this one on the bottom, this one's a very simple one. He runs like a quick hitch to the bottom right here, split out wide, and you're going to see like an unnatural ability to accelerate and speed, which eliminates the angle. I believe it's from the safety high here. I think you can see I think you guys can see the cursor. But really, this is just about pure athleticism here. Like there's no technique here. There's nothing about it. There's really not a lot of nuance to this play. It's just about how much of a freak he is in terms of the acceleration, like post stiff arming that defensive back, safety, whatever it is. How he takes off right there is just it's kind of unnatural. And you see some of the freak testing numbers in that 4.39 40 speed, 43.5-inch vert, 11'1" broad. But it's specifically once he separates from this corner, the acceleration right there looks almost like a Madden glitch, kind of like it doesn't look real to me. I've watched thousands of plays, and you don't really see that type of acceleration from a guy who's 240 pounds. And I'm sure the safety thinks he's taking a good angle to the ball right here, but Sadiq can eliminate those angles. So I didn't see a ton from him in terms of yak at Oregon. I want to see him a little bit more or do a little bit more with the ball in his hand. So I think he has to develop his yak in some ways, but overall, he has the obviously the ability to just the natural ability to accelerate. He's rocked up, right? He has good contact balance. He's a good athlete. So starting off with that, just seeing, him in a yak situation here. And sorry if you can hear my dog. I just text my wife like, please get the fucking dog. So I'm sorry if you can hear him, but he's a yappy little biznatch sometimes. So okay, that's actually the wrong. Let me see. Okay, so next play of Sadiq, let's see, effort. This is a way you could see him being used with the Jets. If you can't find him in this play, I cannot help you. They fake, I believe it's a counter or a power to the left, and he kind of works over here like they're running a counter OH, and then he pivots out of here, and then is just blocking anything in the alley right here, and you're gonna see him attach himself to a defensive back and then pancake him at the end of the play. So let's watch it. And then we'll talk about it a little bit. He's a very good blocker in space. We'll talk a little bit more about him in line. You do not want him in line very much right now, early into his career. He needs to add some weight. He needs to add some technical aspects to his game to block in line. Now, let's say he's on the back side of an outside zone and he just has to cut across somebody's face to keep them off the play side, fine. But if he's going to be on the front side of plays, he cannot block in line at this point. But in this way, this is where you want to use him, as an H-back, as a fullback, blocking in space, again, getting out in space, coming into his block with balance. He does a very good job of balancing himself and not overrunning blocks, doing a good job taking an inside out angle, just anticipating where his running back, the ball carrier, is going to be, attaches himself to the DB, exactly what he is, a safety corner who really cares, but right hand inside. And then a lot of his pancakes come with effort. They're not like, he doesn't like pop guys and they fall over immediately. He tends to drive his feet and then kind of like torque guys. And I'll talk a little bit more about the nerdy stuff at the end right here, where he kind of uses what's called like a wrench technique. So again, attaches himself to the defender here. And then that wrench technique is to make it simpler, basically what you're going to do to torque a guy, to stand him up, to throw him to the turf in this instance for Sadiq. If you put your right hand on the small of his back and you kind of push that inwards, and then your left hand is going to be to the top of his chest, and you kind of just straighten his back out, and obviously you're going to lean into it, and that's what's called the wrench technique. So he wrenches him at the end here and torques that defender to the ground for the pancake in space. So this is how I want him used as a blocker. This is how he was good at Oregon. Again, more in-line stuff gets a little bit more sketchy with Sadiq, which we'll take a look at. I only have I have two more of the strength plays, 3 or 4 weaknesses, and then we can move on from Sadiq. Again, you can't find him. I can't help you. This is one of the bigger highlights of his season, this catch on the sideline. Oregon ran a ton of like slant wheels, post wheels, pump to the flat, and then a wheel behind it type deals. So they did these type of concepts a lot, where the quarterback is probably reading slant to wheel right here. Dante Moore actually puts the ball behind him, and it's not in a good spot. You'd prefer, obviously, if he can anticipate it, that he could get this ball vertical, and maybe Sadiq at this point is running in for a touchdown instead of it being to his back shoulder. But Sadiq, showing off some of the athleticism, the ability to track that ball, catch it, get both feet in bounds. And then at the very last second here, he contorts his body. Why? Because we don't want to fall on the ball. Ideally, we can turn. He actually does kind of fall on the ball a little bit. We do want to tuck the ball and fall into one of the shoulders, so the ball doesn't hit the ground, and then we have it popping out on contact. So really good job by Sadiq. Again, not much nuance there with the wheel route, but a good job of adjusting to the ball behind him. So again, something he could do at the NFL level, just because he's more athletic than a lot of tight ends. Last of the positive plays for Sadiq. Again, arrow to help people out. So he said they couldn't see. So I put some arrows on some of these reviews, and mostly these are used for Twitter, but he releases to the inside right here, and he runs an out or a corner. I forget exactly, but it's a really good route. He doesn't get the ball, but you're going to see him dice up the defender, where the defender actually falls on his face. So there's ability there to run routes with Sadiq. Go back to the first one and watch some of the criticism I have of him as a route runner. I do think he could be generally pretty raw as a route runner, but with him, again, he has such a special athletic ability that even if he could be an average route runner, I think he could be a very effective piece in the passing game, because, again, rely a little bit on that athleticism. With that being said, though, I do think people kind of overstate the athleticism in terms of not overstate his athleticism, but, oh, he's so athletic, he can get open on linebackers, or, oh, he's so big, he can get open on every safety. To me, that's the finishing piece to being a good player, good route runner. 90% of it is technical, mental stuff. The last 10% is the physical stuff. So if you can't run routes technically, it doesn't matter how big, how fast, how strong you are. So he needs to fix a little bit of the technical stuff. But this is a good one from Sadiq right here. Again, release to the inside, corner route. Again, dices up that safety, making him fall on his face. And he uses a good footwork at the top of his release right here. So obviously, takes off vertical, right? Selling drive phase. I'm hoping it's not going to lag here, but what he uses is basically, it's called a skip step. So you see left full stride to half, or to half stride from the right. And all that's doing is changing up the pacing of the route, right? Because if he wants to go, and again, a little bit more nerdy stuff, but if he goes left, full stride right, full stride left, he's going to be kind of too close to this defensive back to cut underneath of him. So he wants to change up the pacing a little bit, not eat up enough or too much ground. So he goes half stride right, nod to the inside. The DB bites on it, hips are opened. I can't tell his exact hand technique here in terms of punch. I don't know if he punches through this, swipes, wipes, chops, but he defeats this outside arm. Defender is relying on that to slingshot himself back onto the route. Again, defeats it. Now he's on his face. And I know he doesn't get the ball here, but this is the result you want in terms of getting open. So a very good route from Sadiq. So you see some of the yak, you see some of the blocking, you see some of the route running ability when he's proper. So those are the positives of Sadiq.
Did you like him more when you did the rewatch than you did initially?
Yeah, I could say, I did. I didn't love it initially for sure, but I could say on the second watch, I saw much more of the pancakes in space. So I understood the vision, how Reich can use him in space a little bit more, because I didn't see it during the first half as much. But with that being said, like just transparency, you're talking about some of the games I watched in the second half. Again, Montana State, Oklahoma State, Rutgers type of teams, where at first I was watching Penn State, Indiana, Texas Tech, USC, so higher level of competition. But I could say I warmed up to him after the second watch. But I saw somebody talking about it in the chat before the show. Or maybe during the show. I'm not sure who it was, so I apologize. But I do agree with this person in the sense of I think Sadiq will be a little bit more of a slow burn than some people think he will be, just because one, he's a little bit raw in general, and then minus quarterback to me, tight end is, if not the second, at least very high up in terms of the hardest positions to transition to at the NFL level, because you're playing receiver and offensive lineman depending on the rep, right? So there's a lot to learn, and then factor in all the ways that Sadiq is going to be used. I do think he'll be closer to like 5th, 6th in terms of targets, than closer to like 2nd or 3rd. So it might be a little bit slower of a burn, and it might be 2nd, 3rd, 4th year we really start to see him heat up. If he's not producing a ton in year one, I wouldn't lose my mind. That's what I'm going to say with Sadiq. Again, it's a tough transition, but I'll talk about some of the weaknesses here too. Again, a lot of it is in space with Sadiq. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, so he's attached right here to the line, and he's just going to try to kick out number 7 right here. And you're going to see some of the lack of ability in the box to block guys. And a lot of it comes from ducking the head. A lot of it comes from the feet not following him into the block. There's some inactivity in the feet. Once you engage with the guy, you want to drive those feet. You want to work the feet. He tends to stall, lean a little bit, and he gets thrown off balance. So you're going to see him get thrown off balance here. Now, the DN does have a size advantage on him here, but nonetheless, you could see a little bit of the technical aspect lacking with him at times, where that DN gets right back into the play. And again, this is versus, I don't know if this is Rutgers or who exactly, maybe this is like a Montana State, or I don't know who exactly this is, but not a team necessarily to write home about. But he gets into the block well here. Like if I freeze this in terms of like what we want into a block, this is pretty damn good. Like good wide base, working off of just the insteps, which is the middle of the foot, generates a lot of power. Ideally, we want the upper body matching the shin angle with the thigh going the exact opposite way. So that's very good, like technique getting into a block, left hand inside. The problem with Sadiq is, again, his feet tend to stall at times. When your feet stall, obviously you're going to start to lean. And when you lean, you're going to be off balance, crosses his face, gets in on the tackle there. I got 3 more. Sadiq, this is a problem. I don't know if you have the stat or you remember the stat off your top of your head, Jake, but I think he had 6 to 8 drops in 2025. Let's just call it 7, kind of the median there. So like 7 drops in 2025. So he needs to fix that up. And a lot of it's like concentration, not looking the ball in. But this is another one.
I think he will, by the way, because I've heard he's an incredibly hard worker. He's only a true 1-year starter, so he's still pretty raw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. Again, and he's raw. And like I've said, he is very raw. But if you were to tell me, hey, in 3 years, Sadiq is a top 5 tight end, I don't think you'd be crazy. Like his ceiling is that high. Again, I would just, in my estimation of what he's going to be, I think he's going to be a little bit more of a slow burn. So we have the pump to the flat right here, just like I talked about. And then we're going to have post wheel. Both of these defenders bite up to the pump fake right there for the screen. Sadiq is wide open right here on the wheel route, but we're going to see the drop. It's not a perfect ball from Dante Moore, but it's a pretty good ball. It's on his face. Sadiq, I can't see the catch technique right here because it's grainy and just in general are kind of far away. But a ball that you want him to catch 10 times out of 10 in space drops it. So it's something that he needs to work on is the consistency with the hands, whether it be it's kind of twofold with him in terms of the catch technique. There is times he doesn't look the ball in completely. And then there are times where his hands are a little bit wide and he tends to like clap on a ball, whereas you want more like diamond and be a little bit more tight. But this is another block in line right here where he whiffs on the D end. And this one comes from a little bit of like leaning into the block and depending on contact to hold his balance, where you want to, again, bring your base into the block. And again, he tends to lean into contact at times. So I want to see, again, a little bit more activity here from his feet. So we'll watch it here. We'll watch it, talk about it a little bit, gets beat badly. And then we have the tackle, right? So in line type of stuff, I'm not there with Sadiq yet. I do think he could obviously clean up technically. If he can add maybe 5 to 10 pounds, because 240 in line is pretty damn light. But here again, leaning into the block, ducking the head a little bit. Defensive end backdoors him, club, arm over. You have Sadiq, who's out, not on his face, but obviously off balance. He's able to then make the tackle on the running back. So 2 plays left, I believe. Let's see. What is this one? 19, a hand use drop. Okay, so he's to the top right here in the slot. And this is one of those ones where like, hey, he gets open here because of his size and it's like some physicality, but it's not the cleanest route in the world. So let's watch him again to the very top right here in the slot. He gets jammed up a little bit. Now his physicality and stuff pushes him past the defensive back. Another contested catch-ish type of situation. It's really not even contested. And he just straight up drops the ball. So in terms of the release, not to get too far into it, but he doesn't eat up enough ground here. You want to stem towards their leverage. So he's outside leverage. You can see he's at the top of the airlines right there, and he's at the bottom. So he's holding out outside leverage for a reason. So if you just stem vertical, he's going to be comfortable to the outside, and you're running a slot fade right here. So if you want to press him a little bit, then get vertical, then get back outside. There's some other things you can do. Then kind of just, he pushes vertical, doesn't really eat up a lot of ground. And then like I talked about last week, you want to be within like 2-ish yards, a yard and a half to a guy. Like you want to get on their toes, but not enough or not too much. But here he's a good like 3 yards off. He's not really overly explosive off the ball. DB just sits on it. He then goes to work to the outside. And this is where the second problem comes. His hand comes up right. Let's see if I can get the frame. His hand comes up right there to chop down the arm, but it comes late. So now the DB attaches himself to the route. And at the NFL level, this is probably game over right here. But just his size, physicality pushes him past that point. And again, goes to track the ball squirts through his hands. And again, it looks like his hands are a little bit wide here. Yeah, you see how his hands are wide and like the thumbs aren't together, the pointers aren't together, and then the ball just squirts right through his hands. We got to clean up the hands a little bit with Sadiq. And then the last one is actually in the Pons review, which we went over last week with him. And this is one of those ones where like I would hesitate just saying, hey, just because he's bigger than a guy means he's going to open, or just because he's faster than a guy, he's going to be open. Again, emphasizing that's the last 10%. That's not all football is, because there's plenty of guys who are are really athletic or really physical, and they don't get open. So this is him versus Pons. We broke down Pons last week, so now we'll kind of look at it from the Sadiq point of view. So man coverage right there. And again, it's another instance of him just not eating up enough ground and being overly explosive off the ball. Like we have to kind of sell vertical until it's not. Like that's the receiver's kind of like in the receiver handbook. Everything's a fader, everything's vertical until it's not. And he comes off the ball pretty slow right here. And he uses it looks like a shuffle technique to the outside, but again, he's not really overly explosive off the ball, not really eating up a lot of ground. Pons is able to just sit on the route because again, he's not overly threatening. Pons gets hands on, and at this point, it's pretty much game over because he's trying to win an inside breaking route an inside breaking route versus a receiver or a DB who's kind of over the top to inside. So then just to get sketchy, he tries to use a throw by, but Pons is all over it. So the technical aspect from as a receiver or as a route runner and as a blocker can definitely clean up with Sadiq, but that is it for the Sadiq positive and negative point of part of the review.
Him and Mason Taylor. If Frank Reich is not over the hill, excites me a lot what they can do offensively.
Yeah, I would say, and maybe I should throw up like a Mason Taylor highlight after this. I feel like he's kind of being forgotten right now in this Jets offense. For a guy who's 20 years old, he was pretty damn good as a rookie. And I know that he had some drops towards the end of the season, but Justin Fields does not help with that at all. The amount of contested catches he had to make in traffic because Justin Fields is just so late with the ball was astonishing. And he's not a guy, he's like not an overly dynamic athlete, but I think he could be a legitimately very solid starting tight end. And he was very impressive as a blocker in year one. So I don't think he'll get as many design touches as Sadiq potentially in this offense, but I think he'll get more targets just because he'll be in the game more and he'll be more of a check down option. So I would not forget about Mason Taylor at all. I actually was very impressed with his rookie season.
Well, all you need to know about Mason Taylor's rookie year, he caught one touchdown pass, and the guy who threw it was Breece Hall.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And again, maybe I'll pull that up after I'm done with this, if you want me to, and just look at all the contested catches he made. Like it was ridiculous. So he was really not helped at all. And again, I don't think he'll ever be a top 5 tight end, but I could see him being somewhere like the 10 to 16 range for years to come. And again, rookie tight end, hard position to learn, 20 years old. So don't overlook him because of Sadiq.
The Jake Asman Show is now presented by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is a daily fantasy app made simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players' projections and build your lineup in seconds. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And PrizePicks is already offering NFL futures, including futures for New York Jets players. Take a look at the lineup that you see on the screen. Garrett Wilson, more than 4.5 reception touchdowns. David Bailey, he's going to have at least 7 sacks his rookie year. Arvell Reese, almost a Jet. I think he'll have at least 3 sacks in his rookie year with the Giants. That is a 3-pick power play, $10 to pay out $60. That is just an example of some of the lineups you can make over at PrizePicks. Make your own lineups today for any sport. Just download the PrizePicks app, use the code HMA, and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Blewett is here. Shout out to everyone who has tuned into our show. Doc Jeffan says, I'd bet Mason Taylor catches 4 more passes than Sadiq. Slow burn's a great analogy.
Yeah. I think Mason Taylor, for me, just because there's a lot of versatility and there's a lot of different ways to use these guys. I think Mason Taylor, and again, people are going to think this is crazy. I don't know why people hate him as much as they do, but I think he's probably going to be third in targets, third if not fourth. I think it's probably going to be Garrett Wilson. It's going to be Breece Hall just out of the backfield, screens, all that type of stuff. I would say Mason Taylor / Omar Cooper for third and fourth. And then I think it is AD Mitchell and Sadiq kind of competing after those guys for targets, because AD Mitchell may not get targeted a lot because he's a vertical threat. He's not, that's really where he excels. And Frank Reich doesn't use guys a ton vertically. He needs to adjust that a little bit with what AD Mitchell does. But I don't see him getting a lot of like design touches like Cooper would. And then again, Sadiq, like I said, is a slow burn. He has to learn a lot. He's already raw in general. So it might take a little bit for him, but I could see him again, some end around, some design touches, some like tight end leaks, some wheels, things like that. But I don't think he's just going to walk in and take over Mason Taylor's spot.
Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. Before we get to Cooper, today's show is being brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app. Use my link in the description. Code HMA. Take advantage of the deal where if you put in $5, you'll get $50 available instantly. Here are the numbers on Kenyon Sadiq over at PrizePicks. More or less, Joe Blewett, 3.5 receiving touchdowns, and then more or less 449.5 receiving yards. This is a tough one for me because I have no idea what I'm getting from Frank Reich. I have no idea what I'm getting from Geno Smith. I have no idea just how often Sadiq will play when Mason Taylor is there. Like, if all goes well, I think he could exceed both these numbers, but this is a tough one for me to prognosticate. Your early feel for these numbers, courtesy of PrizePicks.
Yeah, and again, like I like the ceiling. I just being like 6th or 7th in targets, in my opinion, this year, maybe as high as 5th. Again, in my opinion, could obviously be wrong with how he develops and stuff. I would say under for both, just because I don't know how involved he's necessarily going to be. Like 450 yards is a decent season for a tight end in today's NFL, and he's kind of tight end. He's like tight end 2. Fullback 1, H-back 1, receiver 4 or 5 kind of. So like he just has a lot on his plate. So I don't see the receiving yards. And in terms of the touchdowns, like you need to be a pretty good route runner in the red zone to take advantage of that short space or get open in that short space. And I think people look at the red zone too much and just assume, big, jump high, okay, fade ball. But not a lot of teams just run fade balls in the red zone because it's the lowest percentage completed pass in the NFL. I'm very sure of it. So you're not just going to chuck up fade balls to Sadiq in the red zone. Now, if there's a linebacker, like an unathletic linebacker on him, fine. But I would say under for both. I could see the over. But just being, again, transparent, if I had to bet my house on it, I'm going to go under on both of those.
Yeah, I think I would lean under as well because it's just tough to know. Again, it's just tough to fully project. But I hope he exceeds those numbers. I think you'd feel really good about that.
I want to get 10 touchdowns and 800 yards. Ideally, it's just tight end is, for most people, it takes a few years to really develop. And again, with all he's asked to do or going to be asked to do, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be an easy transition.
Hey, Here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.